I guess you want to start, Rich. You want to start with Jay Briscoe?
Yes.
Okay. So, I didn't follow the details of it, but Jay Briscoe died in a car crash sometime last week. Um, or actually, was it? I think it was Tuesday
Tuesday.
last week.
Yep.
Tuesday last week, a lot of people online and around this watch pro wrestling in America and around the world, honestly, especially in Japan as well, is shaken up by it. Um, this is somebody that like I've been kind of aware of them in wrestling since I've been back in wrestling 2011, but not aware of like all the stops he's been and the amount of outpouring was. I mean, I haven't really seen it since like the Hannah Kimura stuff. It was really in one bittersweet in a way of like I did not know he had that kind of reach on the number of people he did, and also um it sucked for the amount of people that like to see all of that and also see how many people were hurting from that. So what were your thoughts and takeaways from getting the news and like seeing the kind of response, Rich?
So I was kind of having like a night with my wife, and we were just going through music. We're putting together playlists for the road so we can drive safely. Ironically, so we don't have to touch everything while we're driving and look up songs and everything like that. Read it on my phone. I just swear I'm like holy shit, and it was hard to even really explain to her who Jay Briscoe was as far as
Yeah,
like what he meant in wrestling. I was like, I just immediately went to like he's one of the great tag team wrestlers of this time. He's a big rival, has a huge rivalry with the Young Bucks over the years. They're currently champions in Ring of Honor. And I saw this, and it was so sad. And the fact that he was 38 years old, thinking about a lot of the wrestlers of our age group, I would say anybody that's under 40, right? This has been a pretty different era of wrestlers than the era that preceded it. We're talking about deaths, and their deaths were coming for a lot of different reasons. There was drug abuse or uh, drug abuse and steroids and things like that. Like the generation that came after him didn't really seem to have those problems like outwardly, as far as like this being something that's going to make you die early. So when you see him die, and it's like this tragic death, and think about the age group of the guys, it's like this is a whole new thing, and he died doing something we all do every day, which is driving. And it's just so sad. Like his daughters were in the car, and as you mentioned, everyone that just like came out with the outpouring of love for this guy. And we know the reason why they weren't in AEW had to do with some tweets he put up years and years ago. And I want to say about a month ago, I came on this show. I was like, yo man, it's time to let them in AEW. Like this guy is like atoned for a lot of the stuff that he did, as far as like that held him back. And I just was hoping that they'd get a chance to kind of come do their thing in AEW, so it's not like tucked away on the pay-per-views that are the lower level pay-per-views and all that. And he's like just having that great series they had with FTR last year, and his brother Mark never did anything. So to see the outpouring from like your LGBTQ wrestlers, like you got Effie writing long pieces about him. You got Pollo de Mal talking about their relationship with Jay, and seeing somebody that really like learned, that seemed to learn and like followed up on that learning, like like I want to learn more to be like that. And we've seen people like Tim Hardaway, for
yeah.
example, kind of do like the same thing. And
Kobe's another example.
yeah, Kobe Bryant. And it's like the fact, like it just feel like this guy was wronged, like, and It was him. Yes, he wrote that tweet. He had to stand on it, and the thing is, he did stand on it, and he made up for it in a lot of people's eyes. But it sucks to see that it seems like there was no path to redemption for him. No matter how hard, no matter how much work he put in, and from a wrestling standpoint, I'm about as familiar with Jay Briscoe as you are. I may have watched a couple more matches, different ladder war things, some matches against the Young Bucks, different matches against I think God. Also obviously the FTR stuff last year, but I was watching some of his stuff from this past week. I watched a match with him and his brother against Kazuhiko Nakajima and Kota Ibushi from Noah, and I was just like fascinated and blown away. And folks have like said, if there's anybody that's in the conversation for real for the greatest tag team of all time, and you're not talking about the Young Bucks, like you're talking about the Briscoes, you're talking about the longevity, how good they were from essentially when they were 18 years old on to this time now, and they've got high quality work as early as 2004 going up. So this is just really sad on a multitude of levels. Like, seems like this guy was going to break through. Like, I think it would have been a matter of time before they could get that ban lifted, but I don't know, because even in death they couldn't really do too much as far as the celebration of his life on TNT. Incredible promo, just like fascinating talker, and the act with his brother, like the way they just kind of played off each other. This stings for a lot of different reasons, and I'm not even somebody that was like I wasn't no like huge like Briscoes fan or anything like that, but it was just so like sad just seeing like the generation that he was a part of losing somebody like that, like all these great brother tag teams in the world, right? Like, we're never going to see another Briscoes Bucks match. We're never going to see Briscoes ever take on the Lucha Brothers. We're never going to see Briscoes and FTR again. We're not going to see Briscoes versus anybody because there's no more Briscoes. Literally just been yanked, like out, just zapped, literally. And you got to feel for his brother. You got to feel for his wife and his kids, and like all these great brother tag teams of this era, go right down the line, and they're up there with anybody. I'm very sad about his passing, and just like seeing like, and a lot of it had to do with like they couldn't get to like, it's just you never know how much time you have left, and I just hate all of it. Like I was just deflated.
So as you mentioned, like coming into this, even up until maybe at the earliest, like around 2018ish, around the time they were making Lethal champion, and I like, and Josh was watching Ring of Honor at the time, and he was talking about how much he was into like Lethal versus Jay Briscoe for the ROH title. I was aware of them, even from the time we're talking about Meltzer and talking about like Observer Radio, talking about how like it seems like they may try to WWE might try to sign them, but like they have to deal with like them and their work with the family business with chickens and all that kind of stuff. And then I think the first time I ever actually saw them in person was Super Card of Honor, 2018. I think it was it was them versus Lethal and Tanahashi, right? Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lethal and Tanahashi.
Yeah. So, this particular last year with the Ring of Honor revamp and the feud with a program with FTR was great. Is one of the is going to finish very high on year end feud of the year contender stuff around the world. Or if you haven't already seen some of the stuff, some of it's already out there and they're already super high on that kind of stuff, maybe even one. But so like this is kind of like the year where like I got an appreciation of how good they actually were. I knew they were good. I didn't know that they were like have not some easily some of the best matches of the year. And in certain case, I think a lot of people think that the dog collar match was the best match this year, and I wouldn't argue. What just not my taste. But the thing I've always kind of kept them off guard because like when people get themselves in stupid situations, um, it's really easy to write people off and not ever check back to see on like as you mentioned like like the work that he did with after he said homophobic stuff and seek to make good on the wrongs he made. And I wasn't too much familiar with what he did to or with like some of the stuff he did and his mea culpa and all that kind of stuff until he passed away. And I remember finding out about it and I was like, wait, what? He's dead. And I go to his Twitter and see that he had just tweeted something out a few hours ago. And I'm like, okay,
picture with
and I
his
was
brother.
so my immediate reaction was like something. It's bad enough that he's dead at a young age, but it's like something terrible had to have happened because for him to just be tweeting and then a few hours later, like I'm thinking, so I'm wondering like a little mind. I was like, did he have a heart attack or something? It was a car crash, whatever. Then to find out later, like it was a car crash and he didn't have a seatbelt on. Like that really sucked. And I just hope that the people that that wrote him off in a similar fashion that I did in that kind of way. And it's so easy to do in the online space of somebody fucks up and you just write them off forever as a decent human being or whatever else. Like I hope that like there are more people that were like me. They're like, this is a lesson. Like this isn't like some like this is real life. This isn't like some situation where like you just write a cross over someone's name and just leave it at that. Is like if this like people make mistakes and I'm not saying for anybody to forgive anybody that aren't willing to they're ready to forgive. Like that's the thing when you make a mistake and you ask for forgiveness. Like it's not granted you're ever going to be forgiven by everybody, and that's the game. But like there were a lot of people that were vouched for that dude in that kind of way to where it's like, okay, I didn't know there was a change on this, but there clearly was. And I'm good on that from their perspective. So, like you mentioned, all-time great tag team. All-time great tag team for this era. And they definitely left a legacy. There are people that put out threads and tweets of like 100 Jay Briscoe matches you can go watch right now. Not many wrestlers have that kind of thing. Obviously, that's the benefit of today's kind of availability for YouTube and links and all that kind of stuff. But any wrestler that you can go out there and you can say, I got 100 quality matches on them, they're a good ass wrestler. Period.
And I'm glad you mentioned like the ironically like this guy. Had he showed up in another time, I think he'd have been a massive star, right? But he showed up in a time he did to where maybe in life he couldn't get the attention because of the just the nature of the way the wrestling business was set up throughout like most of his life, essentially, like with WWE being the one place and then WWE would never touch them, right?
Because he was also like he was damn near, or if he was like, I mean, he's almost like wasn't he a day one ROH guy?
Yes, first ROH.
Yeah, he's like so like an actual original as opposed to the stuff that's going on with like the AEW women's division, but whatever. Like it's so yeah, like when you start from there, it's going like you think of the people that actually rose up from there, like that's a grind, and not everybody makes it, regardless of the skill level.
Yeah,
right. Like Nigel never made it. Nigel was one of the best wrestlers of the era.
And it's a lot about like back channel links and message boards and different downloadable sites, like
and the internet being a totally different place,
right? And the internet like really like being able to like if you were able to find the Briscoes stuff like back then, like I imagine it wasn't easy to like get your hands on them going to Noah in 2008, like so like. He's kind of a legend of that era, like of those, because it's easier now it's a click of a button. I can load up Wrestle Universe, but you weren't able to do that always.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, man, I just hope his brother's all right. Hope to see him continue his career. If he doesn't, totally understandable. But yeah, I think there's gonna be a tribute show coming for him that was taped, so I'm interested to see that. Every promotion, guys were talking about this guy, like big, small, people that were in the main events, like that have walked out with the championships at WrestleMania. Were talking about this guy. Tommaso Ciampa was talking about he ripped this guy off for his entire gimmick. When he was a heel, like. Yeah, man. It's just,
I mean,
it stinks, man. Like, and
the start of Wrestle Kingdom 17 in Yokohama Arena, like they start off with like in the ring, Tanahashi and Marufuji holding up pictures of Tanahashi holding a picture of Jay Briscoe when he was in New Japan, and Marufuji's holding up a picture of Jay Briscoe when he was in Noah. And like you got both sides. The New Japan side and Noah side sitting there, and they're both, then they're doing the 10 bell salute. Like, that's how far back that's how long he's been wrestling, and that's like where he's been around the world doing this. And you could tell people were, really, even over there were touched by that dude. So, that just lets you know how far this whole crazy wrestling thing goes with him in his career, in his life. And it's sad that he's no longer with us.
Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start the show.